in the crimson glow of a prehistoric dawn, where the air itself hummed with the distant roars of beasts that modern eyes would never witness, a small family clung to life on the edge of extinction. Gruk, broad-shouldered and scarred from countless battles with the wild, stood as the unyielding protector. His mate, Booga, sharp-eyed and agile as the wind through the tall grass, possessed a cleverness that turned desperation into opportunity. Between them toddled their two young children, little Kira, barely 5 summers old, with curious hands always reaching for danger, and her brother Tor, strong for his age but still wide-eyed with the wonder and terror of their savage world. They were no mighty tribe, no legendary hunters spoken of in future myths. They were simply survivors, bound by love, in a land where love alone was rarely enough. This was the world before civilization's first spark, untamed, unforgiving, and alive with giants. Massive herds of woolly mammoths thundered across distant plains. Saber-toothed cats stalked the shadows, and in the open grasslands, terror birds ruled as feathered tyrants. These were the forest racids, standing taller than the tallest man, with hooked beaks like curved obsidian blades, and legs built for sprinting down prey with bone-crushing force. Their screeches could freeze the blood of even the bravest warrior. Yet on this fateful morning, hunger gnawed deeper than fear. The family's last meal had been meager roots and a few grubs 3 sunrises ago. The children's ribs showed too clearly beneath their skin. Something had to change. Gruk crouched low in the swaying sea of golden grass, his crude spear fashioned from fire-hardened wood and a razor-sharp flint tip gripped tightly in calloused hands. Booga signaled from behind a cluster of boulders, her eyes scanning the horizon. "The nest is just beyond that rise," she whispered, her voice vanish like shadows. Kira and Tor hid nearby, clutching small throwing stones, their young faces a mix of excitement and the heavy understanding that failure meant death. The plan was reckless, born of starvation. Terror bird eggs were legendary massive orbs packed with rich, life-giving yolk that could sustain a family for days. But stealing from such predators was like poking a sleeping cave bear. One mistake, and the entire family would be torn apart. Gruk's heart thundered as he crept forward. The nest came into view, a crude but imposing mound of interwoven branches, bones, and dried vegetation atop a slight elevation. 3 enormous eggs rested within, each nearly the size of Tor's torso, their shells a mottled blue-green that blended with the surroundings. The warmth radiating from them spoke of developing life inside. For a heartbeat, Gruk hesitated. Taking one meant ending a potential new terror bird. But his children's hungry eyes burned in his mind. He reached out, carefully lifting the largest egg. It was heavier than expected, smooth and vital under his fingers. He turned to retreat. A piercing screech shattered the morning calm. One adult terror bird had returned early, its massive silhouette cresting the hill like a demon from the earth itself. Towering over 3 meters tall, with powerful legs ending in claws that could disembowel a mammoth calf, the bird fixed its predatory gaze on the thief. Its beak opened wide, revealing a gullet ready to swallow a man whole. "Run!" Gruk bellowed, clutching the precious egg under one arm while gripping his spear in the other. The ground trembled as the terror bird charged. Its footsteps were like war drums, each stride covering impossible distance. Booga exploded from cover, waving her arms and shouting to divert its attention. "This way, you overgrown feather demon." Kira and Tor scrambled toward the safety of the tree line, their small legs pumping furiously. The chase was chaos incarnate. Branches whipped across Gruk's face, drawing blood. Roots snared his feet, nearly sending him crashing down with the fragile egg. The terror bird's beak snapped shut mere inches from his shoulder, the whoosh of air like a gust from the underworld. Booga hurled a stone that glanced off the bird's thick plumage, buying precious seconds. The children screamed directions from the underbrush. "Left, father, the ravine." They dove into a narrow, rocky cleft, too tight for the giant bird to follow. The terror bird slammed against the entrance, screeching in fury, its beak probing like a living spear. Feathers and dust filled the air. The family pressed deeper into the shadows, hearts racing, bodies trembling. They had escaped, but only just. The egg remained intact in Grook's arms, a hard-won prize that carried the weight of both salvation and future vengeance. Exhausted but triumphant, they made their way to a hidden overhang as the sun climbed higher. They cracked the massive egg carefully, sharing the rich, golden contents. The taste was unlike anything they had known. Creamy, nourishing, filling them with renewed energy. Kira and Tor giggled as the yolk smeared their faces, a rare moment of childhood joy amid the constant struggle. Booga leaned against Grook, her hand resting on his. "We live another day," she murmured. Grook nodded, but his eyes scanned the horizon. The terror birds would remember this. The wild always collected its debts. As shadows lengthened, they sought shelter for the night. A shallow cave, halfway up a rocky cliff face, seemed perfect defensible, with a narrow entrance and a view of the valley below. They built a small fire from dry tinder, the flames dancing against the stone walls and casting long, flickering shadows. The children curled up close to the warmth, their bellies full for the first time in weeks. Grook stood watch first, spear ready, while Booga sang a soft, wordless lullaby that echoed gently through the cavern. For a few precious hours, peace settled over them like a warm hide. But the wild does not grant peace without a price. A low, guttural growl rumbled from the depths of the cave, vibrating through the stone floor. Then another. Multiple pairs of golden eyes reflected the firelight, emerging from the blackness like stars of death. A pride of cave lions had claimed this den long before the family arrived. These were no ordinary lions. These Ice Age giants stood taller at the shoulder than a grown man, with muscular builds, powerful jaws capable of crushing bone, and an intelligence honed by survival in a merciless world. The lead lioness stepped forward, her tail lashing, lips curled to reveal fangs like daggers. Behind her, 3 other adults and 2 robust cubs formed a wall of muscle and hunger. The family was trapped. The narrow entrance was now blocked by the pride. Retreat was impossible. The stolen egg had led them to this deadly crossroads. "Protect the children!" Grook roared, thrusting his spear forward in a defensive stance. Booga snatched a burning branch from the fire, wielding it as both torch and weapon, the flames crackling menacingly. Kira and Tor pressed against the back wall, small hands gripping sharp stones, their young faces pale but determined. The air thickened with tension. The scent of smoke, blood from earlier scratches, and raw animal musk filled the cave. The lead lioness charged without warning, her powerful body launched like a boulder from a cliff. Grook met her head-on, his spear tip driving into her shoulder. He staggered, but held firm, twisting the spear deeper. Booga leaped to his side, swinging the flaming branch in a wide arc that seared the lioness's face. The beast recoiled, fur smoking, but the rest of the pride attacked in coordinated fury. A second lioness lunged at Booga from the side. She dodged with cat-like grace, jabbing the torch into it, striking one cub on the nose and eliciting a yelp. Kira followed suit, her throws adding to the chaos. The battle inside the air. Spears thrust and parried. Blood, both human and lion, splattered the ancient stone. Grook fought like a man possessed, every strike fueled by the need to protect his blood. A lion's jaw snapped shut on his spear shaft, nearly wrenching it from his hands. He headbutted the beast, stunning it long enough to retrieve his weapon. Booga was a whirlwind of fire and fury. She blinded one lion with the torch, then drove a flint knife into its haunch. Her agility kept her alive, where brute strength would have failed. But the pride was relentless. One lion caught her leg, dragging her momentarily. Grook's desperate shout gave her the burst of strength to kick free. The children were not idle. Their small stones pelted the attackers, creating distractions that allowed their parents crucial seconds. Little Kira's aim was true, hitting a cub in the eye and sending it scrambling back. Tor stood guard over his sister, a tiny spear in hand, his face set in grim determination far beyond his years. Exhaustion crept in. Grook's wounds burned. Booga's breath came in ragged gasps. The lions sensed weakness and pressed the advantage. The largest male, a massive brute with scars from past battles, prepared for the killing blow. His eyes locked on the children. Time slowed. This was the moment that could end everything. Then, from the cave entrance, came a sound that shifted the balance of power. A deep, earth-shaking roar that dwarfed even the lion's growls. Heavy footsteps thundered closer. The pride hesitated, heads turning. Something colossal approached. Bursting through the narrow opening like an avalanche of white fur and muscle was the mighty white gorilla. Towering and powerful, his snow-white coat gleaming in the firelight. He was a legend made flesh. The same guardian spirit who had once saved Grook and Booga from the river python. He had tracked their scent across the plains, drawn by some primal instinct of alliance forged in shared survival. With a bellow that rattled the cave, the gorilla slammed into the lead lioness, sending her flying against the wall. The pride turned its fury on this new intruder, but the gorilla was unstoppable. His massive fists pounded like falling boulders, cracking ribs and shattering jaws. One lion bit into his arm. He shook it off as if it were a mere insect, hurling it across the cavern. Grook and Booga seized the moment. Renewed by their allies' arrival, they attacked the flanks. Spear and flame worked in harmony with the gorilla's raw power. The cave became a whirlwind of violence, claws, teeth, fire, and stone. The lions fought fiercely, but were outmatched by the unified front of human ingenuity and gorilla might. One by one, the pride broke. The wounded limped into the night, yowling in defeat. The cave fell silent, except for the heavy breathing of the victors. The family had survived the impossible. In the aftermath, exhaustion gave way to relief and awe. Grook's wounds were tended with chewed herbs and bindings from torn hides. Booga's leg was bruised but unbroken. The children, though terrified, emerged, unharmed, and clung to the white gorilla as if he were a long-lost uncle. The mighty ape allowed their small hands to touch his fur, grunting softly in what could only be acceptance. In that bloodied sanctuary, a new family was born, not by blood alone, but by battle and unbreakable loyalty. Dawn brought reflection. The stolen terror bird egg had been the catalyst. It had filled their bellies and led them to this cave, this fight, and this powerful new bond. The white gorilla, sensing their need,
we are one.
Gestured toward the distant
we
valley.
Face the darkness together.
He knew safer lands abundant with food, water, and fewer immediate horrors. Grook placed a hand on the gorilla's massive arm. We walked together. Booga smiled through her fatigue. The children cheered weakly. Their journey as one tribe had truly begun. The days that followed wove their lives into an epic of discovery. They traversed winding rivers where giant fish lurked beneath the surface. The gorilla taught them to fish with patience and power, flipping stones to reveal hidden crayfish. Grook showed the ape how to fashion stronger spears, while Booga demonstrated the art of fire-keeping and trap-setting. The children learned from all, their laughter echoing as they rode on the gorilla's broad shoulders during long marches. Challenges tested them relentlessly. A sudden flash flood roared down a canyon, threatening to sweep them away. The gorilla anchored himself against the current, holding the family safely until the waters receded. At night, dire wolves circled their camp, but coordinated defenses of fire, spears, and the gorilla's thunderous charges drove them off. Each trial forged them tighter.
Their shadows
One
stretched further than the
evening,
tallest
as they rested
tree.
beneath ancient trees whose trunks bore the scratches of long-extinct beasts, Booga shared stories passed down from her elders' tales of a time when the world was younger and humans lived in greater harmony with the giants. The gorilla listened intently, as if the words resonated in his primal soul. Grook carved small wooden figures, terror birds with outstretched beaks, roaring lions, and a proud white gorilla standing guard. The children played with them, transforming fear into playful mastery. As they ventured deeper into unknown territories, they encountered signs of other ancient peoples, faint cave paintings depicting hunts against mammoths and battles with great cats. These glimpses of a wider world filled them with both hope and caution. They were not alone, but strangers could be as dangerous as any beast. The terror bird's shadow lingered. Weeks into their journey, as the group drank from a crystal-clear watering hole surrounded by lush ferns, the pair of vengeful adults reappeared on the horizon. Their screeches carried across the plains like accusations. This time, there would be no running. The family and their gorilla guardian stood ready. The confrontation was fierce and cinematic. The terror birds charged with blinding speed. The gorilla met the first head-on, grappling its powerful legs and slamming it into the ground. Rook and Booga used the environment, cleverly luring the second bird into a thicket where its size hindered it. Spears flew, stones struck sensitive eyes. The children watched from safety, ready with distractions if needed. In a whirlwind of dust, feathers, and primal roars, the family prevailed. One bird fled into the grasslands. The other lay defeated. Its threat to their future ended. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery hues, the group stood victorious. The stolen egg had sparked a chain of events that transformed them from desperate survivors into a formidable tribe. That night, around a roaring fire, they celebrated. The white gorilla shared tender safer tomorrow. Wounds healed. Bonds deepened. In a world of endless peril, they had carved out hope. Their story was far from finished. Distant mountains whispered of new adventures, ancient tribes, and greater beasts. But for now, united as one, Grook, Booga, Kira, Tor, and the mighty white gorilla faced the future with heads held high. They had stolen an egg from terror. They had battled lions in darkness. And through it all, family had proven stronger than any claw, beak, or fang. In the vast, untamed prehistoric world, their legend was only beginning a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the enduring power of those who choose to stand together against